I'm about to arrive in Dahab. I'm in Egypt, you guys. We are almost there. Look at the mountains behind me. But the driver has stopped for some gas and he is refueling himself as well. We're almost there. As soon as I arrived here, I felt my soul come to life because it was really just the cultural differences were so obvious and I really had been missing that. In Turkey, I felt like I was still in Europe, but arriving here, I definitely was not anymore, which just made me feel very excited. Also, when I arrived to the water, there were dogs playing with the kids in the water, and I love a beach dog, you guys. You know I do. And there's lots of broken down or old Jeeps around town. They all use these for the tours, which I love a Jeep, definitely an old one. You may not have heard of Dahab at all. A lot of people know Hurghada and they know Sharm el-Sheikh, which are also along the Red Sea, in the north of the Red Sea more or less. But Dahab is located along the Gulf of Aqaba, an hour north of Sharm el-Sheikh. So it also has the beautiful reefs, but aside from that, it is much more authentic still, much more affordable, and not at all full of all-in resorts. It is much more backpacker friendly. But why would you come here? What can you do around here? One of the most popular things is that you can hike up Mount Sinai, which you may remember from the Bible stories. So you can watch the sunrise from this mountain, which is a holy mountain, and then at the foot of the mountain you can go and visit the oldest continuously inhabited monastery, which is called St. Catherine's. So that is a very popular trip, but I did not go on it because there is so much more cool stuff to do around Dahab, and I will tell you all the things that I got up to here and why you should absolutely come to Dahab. I started with a day trip to the infamous Great Blue Hole to go snorkeling at Abu Galoum and also go to the Blue Lagoon. We had a bit of a rough start, so we needed a little push. Once we got the car going, we drove along the breathtaking coastline to the infamous Great Blue Hole. Once we made it to the Blue Hole, we waited for the snorkels with some tea and a game of Uno. It didn't last long though. The Great Blue Hole of Dahab is reputed to have the most diver fatalities in the world, with between 130 to 200 fatalities in recent years. But we would stay on the surface and started a bit further along the reef to end at the Blue Hole. So we have just gone snorkeling in the Great Blue Hole of Dahab, and it was so epic, you guys. You know how much I love the Great Blue Hole in Belize, and just being on this big sinkhole was so epic. And the coral here is unlike any coral I have ever seen anywhere. There was so many fish, and I even saw a few nudibranches, and I did see the free divers, and I'm so split in between learning to free dive and doing the Tisselgorm dive, which is a wreck dive. That is one of the best wreck dives in the whole entire world, and I don't know what to do, you guys. I would love to learn how to free dive, but yeah, we'll see. We then hopped in a boat, and you guys, I could not get over this reef. Look at it. We were treated to a big surprise on the way to Abu Galoum. When we arrived in Abu Galoum, we first had some puppy cuddles and I had a little snack. We are done with the second snorkel in Abu Galoum, and they did things the wrong way around. They started with the currents and then came back against the currents, which was very difficult for us since they didn't give us fins. So I was getting pretty exhausted also because I had my camera in one hand and then I was picking up trash with the other, so I couldn't really use my hands much. So yeah, it was quite difficult to get back, but we made it, and now it is time to grab some lunch. We thought that we would have a relaxed lunch, but we did not count on how relentless the animals would be here. The cats roaming around this beach all rushed to our booth and tried to rob us of our food. We had to go to great lengths to protect our plates. We have made it to the final stop of the day, which is the Blue Lagoon. And this Blue Lagoon is so stunning. The color of the water, you guys. And a lot of the time they do kite surfing here as well. I'm sorry if the wind is rushing. I didn't bring all my camera gear on the boats and stuff. But yeah, wow, what a sight. We spent some time swimming, relaxing, and even napping here on this stunning beach before heading back to town. It was such an amazing day out. So yeah, I would definitely say that the Great Blue Hole was my absolute favorite. Abu Galoum wasn't really worth it, but the Blue Lagoon was definitely a beautiful place, but I hated to see so much trash out there. At Abu Galoum as well, I was picking up so much trash. Yeah, so that was very unfortunate, but I loved the Jeep rides and we saw the freaking dolphins. It was definitely a successful day. And the next day, I went freediving for the very first time. This is one of the most popular places in the whole wide world to learn how to freedive, or even come freediving if you already know how to, because of the Great Blue Hole. But there are also just really great dive sites and free dive sites around Dahab. So you will find lots of dive shops and lots of free dive shops. I was very intimidated by the thought of diving underwater and having to hold my breath. I didn't know if I could do it, but here is how it went. Today I have come to H2O Divers and I am going to do the Aida one, so the discovery of freediving. It is the first level, and if I want to I can then do the second level the next day, but we'll see how the first day goes, because I am not gonna lie, it is very intimidating. First, my instructor Dina taught me some theory about freediving before doing some stretching and breath holding on dry land. I then slid into the water dive suit under the shower to put the theory to the test in the water and do the breath holding just floating on the surface. Here you can see me practice breathing with my stomach instead of my chest and relaxing before holding my breath for at least 1.5 minutes. I could not believe it. We had a lunch break and of course I went to Ralph's Bakery. I resisted getting a coffee because I didn't want my heart rate to go up too much, but the sugar probably did so as well. Then it was time for the real deal. From the start, I really struggled equalizing the pressure in my ears while being upside down. It's so strange to be upside down like that. After a few tries, it didn't seem to get better, and I was scared that I would injure my ears and wouldn't be able to dive shortly after. But Dina convinced me to try again, but this time not being upside down. The equalizing got much better, and eventually I did a great job upside down to finish it off. Right, so in the end, I managed to get to the 5 meters, which I was so proud of, and I realized what I was doing wrong, the things I had to really work on. And instead of doing the Aida 2 the next day right away, I thought it would be better to work on my meditation, breath work, and stuff like that. That would help me just dive much better. So maybe I will do more free diving in the future, but for now I have some work to do. And I will just stick to breathing underwater and blowing some bubbles. And scuba diving is another thing that I did do whilst I was in Dahab. It is really affordable here. I paid 25 euros per dive. Alright guys, I am at one of my favorite places in the whole wide world, the dive shop. Today I am doing a few dives just to get ready and get just used to diving again, because it's been since June and it is now April. I have been doing a lot of diving in the past year, but yeah, I just need to do some freshening up before I dive one of the most amazing wreck dives in the whole wide world. Let's go. We drove south a bit to Golden Blocks and Moray Eel dive sites. We geared up and as usual, it was a very sweaty affair. We were very happy to get in the water as soon as possible. In April, the water is still quite chilly, so perfect to cool down. We spotted a moray eel, a lot of territorial clownfish, and a few pufferfish. We started to dive quite deep, so I was happy to be higher up again. I could have stayed at these amazing pinnacles full of fish and coral for the entire dive. Can you spot the very well camouflaged stonefish? It's the most venomous fish ever known, but usually it's harmless. In the end, I didn't enjoy the dives as much because I had some issues with my equipment. At first, they put too much weight on me because apparently you are lighter in the Red Sea because it is more salty. But I needed the same weight as I did anywhere else, which is 4 kilos instead of 6. I was sinking, you guys. I felt like I couldn't breathe out because I would sink even more, so I was like trying to get higher and inflating my BCD too much, but yeah, that problem was fixed for the second dive. But then my tank was a bit too high and I had like the tank on the back of my head, and also my feet were a bit too tight, and then my feet were hurting for the last 20 minutes. So yeah, I wasn't very lucky with the equipment this time around, which was not up to the dive shop at all. That was more just like, yeah, just happens. But I'm glad that I did these dives just so that I can enjoy my dives in Marsa Alam that are coming up. I didn't end up doing the wreck dive because not enough people had signed up, so that was cancelled. But also I don't think I was ready for it because I feel like I didn't get all the information, and then once I did, I realized that it probably wasn't the time for me anyway. In the evening, we also went to a music mountain night. There are lots of Bedouin dinners, and Bedouin are the local people who inhabit these rugged mountains, and they cook food under the ground, which is really cool to see. And there was music. We kind of had a more modern twist on it with lots of Indian themed stuff, which I found very strange. We were picked up at the hostel by these jeeps, of course, what else? And we had a short but lovely ride into the mountains. We entered through an Indian themed entrance, which I found very strange and out of place, but it did look cool. We had lots of cozy seating areas and got some welcome tea. It took a really long time for the food to be slow. Yes, very slow cooked. And since we only got food at 10 p.m, we climbed up the mountain and saw a more authentic Bedouin night on the other side. There they were playing drum music around the fire, but we still enjoyed our Colombian band playing live music as well. I even got a glowing necklace from one of the guys I was hanging out with. Cute! It was still a great, cozy night with all the people of the hostel. I was really hoping to see the community market on Friday, but it is no longer on Friday. It is actually on Thursday and Sundays. So by the time I figured out the Thursday one was already done and I'm leaving on Saturday, so no community market for me, but I would have loved to see it. Another thing that is very popular here, which I would have loved to learn, is kite surfing. I would love to learn how to kite surf, but the issue is once I learn how to, I then need to pay once again every single time that I want to do it for the equipment rental, because I wouldn't really buy my own equipment, which is quite expensive. And I think one really expensive hobby, or well, two, is enough. Traveling and diving, by the way. But yeah, it was still cool to push my boundaries and try something new with the freediving. And yeah, maybe I will kite surf somewhere in the future anyways. There are lots of other activities around. I will insert a picture of the hostel activities. So you could go to the Red and White Canyon, you can do ATV tours, you can ride camels even, but you know, I don't really know if I would ever ride a camel. unless maybe it's in Morocco in the desert with a tribe living there. We'll see if I do it in the future, but I really want it to be ethically. There are some amazing restaurants in town as well, like Ralph's Bakery, which does amazing pastries and breakfast and so much more. We had the best burger at Tota and then also some amazing Italian food at Atanor. The sunsets that we saw here just turned the waves and also the mountains of Saudi Arabia on the other side of the Gulf pink, and it was just so beautiful and magical. You guys know I'm obsessed with the pink waves. I have been staying at an amazing hostel as well. It is called Rafiki Hostels, and the vibes here are just amazing. It's super social. As I said, they do activities. It also includes an amazing breakfast. I loved the Egyptian cereals that they make for breakfast, and then there was lots of other options as well with eggs, and yeah, just really great. I did have the worst bed in all history of my hostel stays. I had the top bunk, and there was only 15 centimeters between my nose and like a plank of the ceiling, and there was 3 planks, so I had to pretty much crawl or roll to the end of the bed that my head had to be at. I also cut up my knuckles because just from like putting my blanket over myself. Yeah, it wasn't great, guys. It was a bit dangerous and unsafe. But that was the only thing I could say, aside from obviously the room having an ensuite bathroom, which wasn't too nice. I prefer bathrooms to just be separate. But other than that, I have loved my stay here so much. On my last day, I made my way past the guard dogs again for a delicious breakfast, and for lunch I went to the bakery again. Here the cat was so persistent on being around me that I had the worst allergy attack after lunch. This was not very convenient during my cheap but extremely rough massage that left me bruised for the next few days. A friend and I then got a shared taxi back to Sharm el Sheikh, where we spent the night at Serendipity before flying to Hurghada the next morning. The sunset and sunrise were absolutely breathtaking. I hope you've enjoyed following along. If you did, then definitely give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't want to miss any of the upcoming Egypt videos. And then I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!